In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. The Quran reminds us, and it is He who subjected the sea for you, so that you may eat from it tender meat and extract from it ornaments which you wear. And you see the ships plowing through it, that you may seek of His bounty and perhaps you will be grateful. Chapter 16, verse 14. For Muslims of the Golden Age, the sea was not a barrier but a pathway, a gift from Allah that connected lands, people, and knowledge. And so, it was that Muslim sailors became masters of the oceans, charting the waves with skill and courage. Their story begins long before Columbus, long before Europe awakened to exploration. It begins with Muslim scholars, navigators, and sailors who saw in the stars and seized the signs of their Creator. You are watching Religious Stories. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments which story you would like us to cover next. From the 8th century onwards, Muslim sailors dominated trade routes, stretching from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic. They built sturdy ships like the dhow, equipped with lateen sails that allowed them to harness the wind more effectively than their rivals. They mastered the use of the astrolabe, a tool for measuring the stars, and developed precise maps that combined Greek, Persian, and Indian knowledge with their own discoveries. In the ports of Andalusia in Spain, in North Africa, and in West Africa, Muslim seafarers launched voyages into the unknown. They mapped the coastlines of Africa, crossed the Mediterranean, and ventured into the vast Atlantic Ocean. Some chronicles even mention bold sailors from Muslim Spain and Morocco who set out westward, returning with tales of islands far across the waves. The Muslim passion for the sea was not just about trade or conquest. It was about seeking knowledge. They studied the winds, the tides, and the heavens above. Geographers like Idrisi drew maps that included lands and islands across the great ocean, centuries before Europeans dared to cross it. Their curiosity was fueled by faith. The Quran spoke of the signs of Allah in the horizons, and so they sought them. But what if these voyages reached farther than we think? What if Muslim sailors, centuries before Columbus, touched the shores of the Americas? What if traces of their journeys were left behind in the words, the cultures, and the memories of the people they met? This question leads us into the next part of the story, the voyages westward, where the sailors of Mali and Andalusia set their eyes on horizons no one else had dared to cross. The seas had long carried Muslim ships east and west, from Africa to India, from Spain to Morocco. But some sailors dreamed of horizons even farther, into the uncharted Atlantic, where the sun seemed to sink into endless waves. And in the hidden chapters of history, there are stories of voyages that may have reached lands across the ocean, centuries before Columbus. You are watching Religious Stories. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments which story you would like us to cover next. From Andalusia, Muslim sailors in the 9th and 10th centuries are said to have sailed westward, searching for islands beyond the Atlantic. The geographer al-Masudi recorded tales of these bold voyages, where ships returned with stories of distant lands. Al-Idrisi, the great cartographer of the 12th century, wrote of islands in the far western ocean, drawn from accounts of sailors who claimed to have seen them. But perhaps the most striking story comes from West Africa, from the Empire of Mali. Long before the world spoke of Columbus, the kings of Mali dreamed of crossing the great ocean. The most famous of them, Abu Bakr II, ruled in the early 14th century. According to chronicles, he believed the Atlantic was not endless, but led to other lands. Determined to know the truth, he sent a fleet of ships westward. The first expedition did not return. Abu Bakr was not deterred. He prepared a second, greater fleet, some say 2,000 ships, and this time he went with them. They sailed into the Atlantic and vanished from history. His throne passed to his brother, Mansa Musa, who later made the legendary pilgrimage to Mecca. But the mystery of Abu Bakr's fleet remains. Did they perish in the waves, or did they reach the shores of the Americas? Some evidence suggests they may have reached. When Columbus sailed in 1492, he reported finding people in the Caribbean using words with Arabic roots. He noted signs of trade goods, like spears tipped with metals similar to those made in West Africa. Could these have been the echoes of Abu Bakr's lost fleet, the legacy of Muslim sailors who crossed the Atlantic centuries before Columbus? The seas hold many secrets, and in the next part of this story, we will see how when Columbus himself arrived in the New World, he carried with him not only the ships of Spain, but the knowledge, maps, and science of Muslim scholars, proof that even in his voyages, the legacy of Islam guided the way. By the time Columbus sailed across the Atlantic in 1492, Muslim sailors had already left behind centuries of knowledge, maps, and navigational science. And when he finally reached the shores of the Caribbean, there were hints, small but striking, that Muslims had crossed those waters long before him. You are watching Religious Stories. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments which story you would like us to cover next. Columbus himself admitted that his voyage would not have been possible without Muslim knowledge. The maps he studied were shaped by the work of Muslim geographers like idrisi, who had drawn detailed charts of oceans and coasts. The instruments he carried, the astrolabe and quadrant, were perfected by Muslim scientists. Even the stars that guided him had been mapped by Muslim astronomers in Spain and Morocco. But the traces of Islam in the New World went deeper. Columbus wrote in his journals that he heard the natives using words with Arabic roots, words like ma for water and hambra for red. He also reported finding metal, tipped spears in the hands of the native people, made of an alloy identical to those forged in West Africa. These details led many to believe that Abu Bakr Qais fleets from Mali, or other Muslim sailors, may indeed have reached these lands centuries earlier. There were also reports of mosques and minaret-like structures in the Caribbean and South America, recorded by early explorers. While history has often silenced these traces, they remain as whispers of a forgotten past. Even Columbus, on his later voyages, noted strange ruins that resembled Islamic architecture. The evidence may not always be conclusive, but the connections are too striking to ignore. The Atlantic was not an empty sea. It was a bridge, and Muslims may have crossed it long before Europeans claimed to discover the New World. But what happened to these traces? Why did history erase the role of Muslim sailors and scholars in shaping the age of exploration? In the next part of the story, we will uncover the legacy and reflection of these hidden voyages, how Islam inspired exploration, and what lessons we can take from the courage of sailors who trusted Allah and sailed into the unknown. The seas had carried Muslims to distant shores, their maps and instruments guiding generations of explorers. From Andalusia to Mali, from idrisi's maps to Abu Bakr's fleets, the traces of their courage remained even in the age of Columbus. But what is the true legacy of these hidden voyages? You are watching Religious Stories. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments what story you would like us to cover next. The legacy of Muslim sailors is not simply about reaching the Americas. It is about the spirit of discovery that Islam nurtured. The Quran itself calls believers to look to the horizons, to study the creation of the heavens and the earth, and to see in the seas signs of Allah's power. This spirit of curiosity and trust in Allah made Muslims pioneers of navigation. They perfected the compass, the astrolabe, and the science of geography. They drew maps that inspired later explorers. Without their contributions, Columbus himself might never have sailed. The traces of their journeys to the Americas, whether in the words of native peoples, in artifacts of West African design, or in early reports of mosque-like structures, remind us that history is often written by the victors. European colonizers claim to have discovered lands already rich in people, culture, and perhaps even contact with earlier travelers. The role of Muslims, like the role of Africans and natives, was erased or silenced. Yet the whispers of truth remain, waiting for us to remember them. The lesson of Malik Ambar Abu Bakr II and the countless unnamed sailors is clear. Allah raises whom He wills, and those who trust Him find paths even across oceans. Their courage teaches us that no barrier, not chains, not empires, not even the vast sea, can stop those who walk with faith. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Seek knowledge, even if it be in China." For Muslims of the seas, this was not just a saying. It was a mission. They sought knowledge across the waters, carrying Islam's light to distant horizons. And so we remember them, the hidden sailors of Islam, who turned the ocean into a road of discovery. Their legacy is not just in history, but in the reminder they left us: trust in Allah. Seek knowledge and never fear the horizon, for beyond it lies the bounty of your Lord.